We've had some great GADA releases from microbrands over the past year, and these two are probably my picks of the bunch. In one corner, we have the Baltic Hermétique Tourer from France, and in the other, the Traska Summiteer 36 from the USA. Both watches tick a lot of the same boxes, right down to their price points. So if you're looking at one of these, there's a high chance you're probably considering the other, just like I was. I hope this head-to-head gives you a good idea of how these two stack up against each other, and maybe, just maybe, it's gonna help you decide which one you should go with. I've done in-depth reviews for both these watches, so check out those videos if you want to get a more detailed look. We're gonna use 7 categories for this head-to-head. Some categories are objective, while others are a bit more subjective. If either watch takes a category, it gets a point. If the category is a tie, both watches get a point. We'll count the scores at the end to see which one ends up as the winner. Let's start off with the first category, fit and finish. The Baltic has more polished surfaces, so it looks a bit more elegant, and that's also seen in the case silhouette. The Traska case looks great too, but it's a bit more toned down and tooly. The Traska does get an edge because of its scratch resistant coating. Seriously, it really works. I still can't see a single scratch on the Traska. I haven't exactly babied the watch either. In comparison, the polished surfaces on the Baltic seem to pick up scratches as soon as you look at it wrongly. Scratches aside, the Baltic case has one big Achilles heel, that integrated crown design. It looks clean, but it's just so fiddly to use. I mean, compare that to the large, easy to use crown on the Traska. They're just worlds apart in terms of functionality. Both watches have excellent fit and finish, but I'm gonna give this category to Traska. It just has the upper edge here. Next, we have the crystal. I love how the crystals look on both watches. They both use beautiful box sapphires with clear AR coatings. The clarity is excellent, and both crystals give you a crystal clear view of the dial. I'm going to call this category a tie. There's not much between them, so both watches get a point. The next category is the dial. The way I describe these dials are same but different. They both have 369 dials, albeit with the extra 12 on the Baltic. They're both blue, but different shades. They both have an inner and outer sector, and of course, the indices on both watches are made entirely from lume. That's a lot of similar design cues, but the executions couldn't be more different. The dial on the Baltic is really stunning. There's so much going on, but they've managed to pull it off in a way that just works. The two sectors are separated by a faceted polish ring that catches the light in interesting ways. Compare that to the Traska, where the inner sector is just sunken down a bit. The indices on the Baltic are even more raised than the ones on the Traska, and those candy bar indices also overlap both sectors. All these design cues just give the Baltic a ton more depth that's really hard to get across on camera. The handset on my Traska was a bit disappointing. It looks great, but I found some rough finishing on the edges and the tip of the minute hand. You'll only see these on the macro, but it's there. The Baltic takes this category for their dial design and attention to detail. Moving on to the movement. Both watches use the no-date Miyota 9039. If you've seen some of my videos, you'll know that I'm a huge fan of this movement. The higher beat gives the second hand a smooth sweep that's so nice to look at, and both units kept fantastic time as expected. There's really nothing to separate them in this category, so I'm giving a point to both watches. Next, we have the bracelet. Baltic keeps that elegant theme going with their flat link bracelet. It looks and feels good, but like the case, the high polish finish scratches up really easily, which is not exactly something you'd want in a GADA watch. The first link on both sides also tended to stick at certain angles. The clasp didn't really impress me either. It only has 2 adjustment positions, and the outer shell is stamped. The clasp on the Traska is solidly milled. It has a beautiful pelage finish on the inner section, and it gives you 5 adjustment positions in total. The bracelet on the Traska is just miles ahead of the Baltic, and most other watches in this price point. I think it's the most comfortable bracelet I've tried on a watch below $1,000. The links have excellent articulation and it just feels so comfortable to wear. If you're a bracelet guy like me, you need to try a Traska bracelet. There's only one clear winner here, so I'm going to give this category to Traska. Moving on to the next category, the lume. Both watches have 3D indices made entirely from BGW9 lume, but I was surprised to see such a big difference between them. The lume on the Baltic has a stronger glow that lasts longer than the Traska. It's consistently applied across the hands and indices, while on the Traska it had a much patchier application. I found some dark spots on the indices, and there's even some missing lume material on the 9 o'clock index. As I mentioned in my Summiteer review, Traska acknowledged that this is a QC issue and they're replacing the dial for me under warranty. That being said, I can only review what's in front of me, so the Baltic gets a point for this category. Lastly, let's look at the comfort. This is one of the most important aspects to me, and I'm glad to say that both of these watches are extremely comfortable to wear. It's easy to see why though. Both watches have compact dimensions right in that Goldilocks zone, so they're going to wear great on the majority of wrist sizes. Both their cases have a nice curved side profile that hugs the wrist. They're both incredibly slim, so you won't have any issues slipping them under a shirt cuff. The mid case on the Baltic looks thinner visually, but it's only half a millimeter thinner than the Traska. On their bracelets, the Traska does feel more comfortable, but they kind of even out when you put them on straps. I'm gonna call this category a tie. So after trading blows throughout this video, it looks like we have ourselves a stalemate. I was expecting a close fight, but not this close. Well, these are both fantastic GADA watches that excel in different areas. So I guess it depends on what you're looking for in a watch, form or function. If you want function, get the Traska Summiteer. Don't get me wrong, it still looks great, but I feel like it has a toolier vibe than the Baltic. That scratch resistant coating is going to come in handy for a GADA watch, and with that incredible bracelet, you're not going to worry about taking this into any situation, no matter how rough it gets. But if form is more important to you, get the Baltic Hermétique Tourer. Those polished surfaces may not handle rougher situations as well as the Traska, but they give the Baltic a more refined design that's going to look better in classier settings. This is also one of those dials you'll find yourself staring at aimlessly throughout the day. It just has that effect on you. But over to you, which one would you get? And are there any microbrand GADA watches that may give these two a run for their money? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Click here if you want to check out my reviews of these watches. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.